Did you know about these 3 true horror stories about viral Labubo dolls? Don't watch these horror stories alone, especially the last one. It was my 19th birthday when my cousin Sandra handed me a small box wrapped in metallic black paper. "You're into creepy vintage stuff, right? Found this at a flea market in New York," she said with a grin. I peeled back the paper and lifted the lid. Inside was a Labubo doll, one of those early models with the oversized porcelain head, cracked blush on its cheeks, and haunting glass eyes. One of the eyes was slightly off-center, giving it a lazy gaze that always seemed to drift past your shoulder instead of at you. It wore a tiny blue school uniform. No brand tag, no serial number, just a paper note inside that read, "Keep her in the open, never face her to the wall." We both laughed it off, thinking it was part of the creepy aesthetic. I placed it on the top shelf of my study table, half hidden behind some books, and didn't think much about it. Until one night, while reading, I looked up, and the doll's head was tilted toward me, even though I clearly remembered leaving it facing forward. At first, I told myself it was gravity, maybe the shelf wasn't flat, or vibrations from the road outside nudged her head slightly. But then it happened again, and again. Each morning, the doll was in a slightly different position. One day, her legs were crossed the other way. Another day, her tiny cloth hands were resting in her lap. I never put them like that. I finally brought it up to Sandra. "Maybe your brother's messing with you." But he wasn't even home that week. Still trying to rationalize, I decided to record a time lapse overnight with my phone, just to catch whatever was going on. I propped it facing the shelf before I went to bed. The next morning, I nervously played back the footage. For the first 5 hours, nothing. But then around 3:17 a.m. the doll's head began to turn, frame by frame, until her lazy eye pointed directly at the camera. And then she blinked. Slowly, I dropped my phone. I replayed the clip 5 times. Same thing. She blinked and I swear, that lazy eye had moved perfectly into place, like something had corrected it. That evening, I came home and found the doll sitting on my pillow, and the note that had once been inside the box now lay flat on my desk. The handwriting had changed. "I told you, don't turn her to the wall." That night, I didn't sleep. I shoved the doll back into its box and locked it in the storage cabinet at the bottom of my wardrobe. I taped the cabinet shut, stuffed a blanket against the door. I even placed a Quran near the cabinet, just in case. Midnight passed, then 2 a.m. Just as I started to drift off, a soft, hollow sound like something falling lightly on the floor. I sat up. The cabinet door was wide open. The tape was still dangling from the side, and the Labubo doll was sitting upright in the middle of my carpet, facing me. Her head was tilted upward this time, and now, both eyes were aligned perfectly, no longer lazy. Wide open, almost human. I couldn't move. My body locked in place. "My breath is shallow." Then she smiled. I swear to God the corners of her lips curved. Not fully, just enough for me to know it wasn't my imagination. I lunged out of bed, grabbed the doll by the arm, and stuffed it into a metal box we kept for winter clothes. I locked it, took it outside, and buried it behind our garden shed. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell anyone. 2 weeks passed. Then one evening, I found a small envelope slipped under my door. No return name. Just one sentence written in slanted handwriting. "That wasn't yours to bury." It all started during a late-night Instagram live in 2023. A popular vintage toy collector named Rachel went live to show off her rare dolls. Her followers loved her haunted collection of porcelain heads, cracked faces, mismatched eyes. But that night was different. She said she'd recently acquired a first-generation Labubo doll from a widow in Oregon. No box, no history, just a single handwritten label tied around its neck with string. Lulani does not speak her name aloud. The doll looked off, more worn than any Labubo I'd ever seen. Its left cheek was bruised looking, with a faded thumbprint embedded in the ceramic. The mouth had an unnatural curve, almost like a smirk. Its eyes weren't shiny like modern Labubos. They were clouded, like fogged over glass. During the stream, Rachel kept glancing off screen, distracted. "Sorry guys," she whispered. "I keep hearing tapping." Her chat started flooding with messages. "That doll is cursed. Rachel, she just moved. She blinked." Rachel laughed it off nervously, brushing it all aside. That's when one user typed, "Hi, Lulani," smiley face. Rachel went dead silent. She stared into the camera. Her lips parted slightly. Then she said, "Why would you type that?" The stream cut out instantly. Black screen. No warning. No goodbye. Just gone. The next morning, Rachel didn't post anything. No apology, no follow-up. Her usual daily stories were gone. Her TikTok and Instagram feeds went silent. By afternoon, one of her close friends, a girl named Kayla, posted on Twitter, "Has anyone heard from Rachel since last night? She left me a really weird voicemail." People started replying immediately, begging her to share it. She did. The audio was only 14 seconds long, and you could barely hear her over a loud static hum. But if you listened carefully, Rachel's voice came through. "She's not a doll. She's not. She's inside now." I made eye contact. I said her name. Then the message cut off mid-sentence. Someone boosted the audio. If you turn the volume all the way up, right after the last word, you could hear a whisper in the background. A second voice. It said faintly, "Say it again." That clip blew up. People speculated she was faking it for attention. Others believed she was in real danger. But the most disturbing thing? Anyone who commented her name Lulani out loud during reaction videos started posting strange updates in the following days. A YouTuber said her mirror cracked for no reason while she was brushing her hair. A guy on TikTok claimed his Google Nest kept turning on at 3:33 a.m. to play lullabies. Another girl deleted her account after posting, "The doll's eyes are in my dreams now." I didn't believe any of it, not until I made the mistake myself. I said her name, out loud, and that night, my phone started playing Rachel's voicemail from my gallery. Even though I never downloaded it, I deleted the audio immediately, or at least I thought I did. Every time I opened my gallery, the same thing happened. The voicemail wasn't listed, but my phone would freeze for 14 seconds, and that same distorted whisper would play again at the end. "Say it again." I stopped using my phone at night, started sleeping with the lights on, but it didn't help because she came back. 3 nights later, I woke up gasping and choking on nothing. My room felt too still, like the air had thickened. I sat up, heart pounding. That's when I noticed my closet door was slightly open. Now here's the thing. I never leave it open. I reached for my lamp and that's when I saw it. Sitting in the middle of the room was a doll. Not mine, not Rachel's, but a Labubo doll I'd never seen before. Faded dress, porcelain skin, one cloudy eye, and a name tag around its neck, hand-stitched in thread. Lulani. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I grabbed my phone and recorded it shaking hands and uploaded it to Reddit, begging for help. But when I checked the post the next morning, the video was gone. Not deleted, replaced with a new video, one I didn't film. It showed me sleeping in bed from the foot of my mattress. My body froze, my eyes half open, and just behind me on the nightstand sat the doll, smiling. My aunt owns a century-old house just outside of Indiana, the kind with creaky floors, stained wallpaper, and that always damp smell no matter how much you clean. We used to visit her during summer holidays. It was boring, honestly. No Wi-Fi, barely any cell signal. Just books, the woods, and a house full of antiques. The one rule she had? Stay out of the basement. It was always locked anyway with a heavy iron latch. No key in sight. As a kid, I imagined it was full of skeletons or ghosts. As a teen, I figured it was just junk storage. But during our 2022 visit, something changed. My cousin Zoya, always the rebel, found the key behind the clock on the landing. "I just want to peek," she whispered. We waited until my aunt went out to get groceries. Then, like idiots, we crept down the narrow staircase. The air got colder with every step. Not dusty like you'd expect, just wrong. Like the air hadn't moved in years. The light flickered. We reached the bottom, and we froze. Because the entire basement was lined wall to wall with Labubo dolls. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all sitting on high wooden shelves. All different, and all staring at us. The air was heavy like something was pressing down on our chests. Each Labubo doll had a tag tied to its wrist. Some were numbered, others had names. One just read, "Do not turn back." Zoya was fascinated. She picked up a tiny one dressed in maroon velvet, eyes glossy but uneven, one cracked right down the center. I told her to leave it, but she smirked and flipped it over. Something slipped out from under the doll's skirt, an old cassette tape. We dusted it off. It had a faded label written in pencil, "Play only if necessary." Back upstairs, we found an old cassette player in a junk box near the kitchen. Zoya pushed the tape in and hit play. At first nothing, then a voice. A woman's voice. "If you found this, it means one of them's awake. These are not toys. They're vessels. Each one holds something. They don't like being moved. They don't like being counted. And they hate being separated." The tape hissed, then a loud bang. Shuffling. And the voice again this time panicked. They know I let her out. She's not where I left her. She's at the stairs. The tape was cut off. At that exact moment, we heard something fall. We rushed to the top of the basement steps. The doll Zoya had picked up now sat on the top stair, looking up, and both her cracked eyes were perfectly whole again. We slammed the basement door and locked it again. Neither of us said a word that night. We just avoided the topic. But something was wrong with my aunt the next morning. She looked pale, unfocused, kept glancing over our shoulders when she spoke like someone was standing behind us. At lunch, Zoya casually mentioned the dolls. My aunt dropped her spoon. "You didn't go down there." Her voice cracked on the word down. Zoya tried to laugh it off. "Just for a minute. They're cute." My aunt stood slowly. She looked like she'd aged 10 years overnight. "I locked them away for a reason," she whispered. "That collection doesn't belong to me. It was my mother's. She started it after her third miscarriage. Said the dolls helped her sleep. Said one of them used to speak." We stared at her. She called it her first daughter. "Give it a name." "Nura." That name was on one of the dolls we'd seen. Before we could ask more, we heard a soft creak from the hallway. The basement door was open again. We rushed toward it. At the top of the steps stood the maroon velvet doll, and behind her dozens more, lined up, climbing one step at a time. Slowly, silently, all facing upward, toward us. We didn't stay. We left that afternoon. My aunt never returned our calls. Weeks later, we got a call from the local police. The house had been found completely empty, basement included. Not a single doll remained. Just one cassette tape left on the floor. That simply said, "Collector needed. The shelves are empty again." That was another true story. If you're still watching, you're one of the brave ones. Most don't make it this far. Subscribe to Horror Stories and hit the bell because the next horror stories drop soon. Stay scared. Stay safe. We'll see you in the dark.